Montalvo Broadcasting Network. Support MBN, Montalvo Broadcasting Network, and shop with us over at Montalvo Store. Go to ebay.com and search in the advanced search. Type in Montalvo Store. Now support Montalvo Broadcasting Network. We have a wide array of books on conspiracy, apparel, and much more. Support your favorite radio station, Montalvo Broadcasting Network, by visiting Montalvo Store on ebay.com.
Tribal, primitive, rustic, Burning Man, punk rock, conceptual subculture for the edgiest, most cutting-edge designs of jewelry today. Go to etsy.com/shop/conceptual subculture, or one word, either by going to Google or search Etsy, ETSY.com, and type in one word, conceptual subculture. You will find the hottest designs using natural stones with wire wrap rings, rough, raw, genuine, semi-precious gemstone jewelry, solid sterling silver, copper, leather, orgonite, bracelets, pendants, chokers, men's copper cups with sterling accents, eco-friendly, repurposed, original, one-of-a-kind design earrings. Support MBN by going to Conceptual Subculture on Etsy. Go to Antique Obsessions for the hottest in jewelry, antiques, repurposed, solid sterling silver, one-of-a-kind, handmade by Bruce and Jaja. Go to our Facebook, which is Antique Obsessions, or you can go to Etsy.com and go to Antique Obsessions, one word, or type it into your Google and find us there. Thanks.
The stylish and hippest clothing around. Go to Poshmark.com. Poshmark.com at Anti-Culture. At Anti-Culture. The coolest, hippest apparel on the internet. Poshmark.com at Anti-Culture. Bruce Montalvo.
Continues to spread conspiracy theories.
Penchant for promoting bogus conspiracies as though they were fact.
About his conspiracy theory.
This is CNN, a network of China Broadcasting System.
Bruce Montalvo is the only radio talk show host that's not controlled. You're listening to the Bruce Montalvo Show.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's October 12th, 2019. You're listening to the Bruce Montalvo Show. Joining me today is a comedian, filmmaker. He is a documentary filmmaker of End the Drug War 1 and 2. Kevin Booth joins me. Hello, Kevin. Thank you for being on the show.
Hey, Bruce. How's it going?
It's great. Thank you so much for being on. Tell us about what made you create the End the Drug War films. They're great. They're really something.
Well, I grew up in drug culture. My brother was 9 years older than me. In the 60s, we lived in Los Angeles, and having an older brother that played in rock bands, I was exposed to a lot of drugs at a young age. I think there's even a story where my brother gave me a hit of acid when I was 5 or 6 years old. It turned out not to be acid, but just to give it a taste. He wasn't a bad person. He had schizophrenia and his own problems, his own demons to fight. But in the end, I watched him basically die because of all the pharmaceuticals he was court ordered to take. At the same time, my mom and dad were highly functioning alcoholics, corporate martini lunch, private jet, the whole bit. And I watched them die from alcohol-related diseases, and I've had other friends die from tobacco-related diseases.
Right.
And then at the same time, I had other friends who then went to prison camps for growing marijuana. And I was watching a lot of documentaries at the time, and I felt like no one had done one that encapsulated the entire drug war and all the different drugs all into one picture. And I knew when I set out on it, I was biting off a big chunk. I had no idea it was going to take me over 4 years to do.
Right.
But that's how I got started.
And you did a lot of investigative research and journalism. I mean, you went out to like the border and other places like that, right? Didn't you do some research? You went out there on scene?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the movie's all over. There's been 2 American drug wars, and then there's been a How We Won the West. So I look at it like a trilogy of films. So in the first American drug war, which I still think is the best film, we go to inside the prison camp with Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I get inside prison with Tommy Chong, who was in prison at the time. I was only one of a couple other people to even get in to be able to interview him. Interesting side note there on the Tommy Chong deal, that his roommate, his cellmate, was a guy named Jordan Belford. Do you know who that was?
No, it doesn't ring a bell right now.
Well, Tommy told him that he should write down his story and write a book, because Tommy was working on a book, and his book ended up being called The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was Jordan Belford. It's a fascinating story. So, that's just a side note. But the main thing, the main thrust of American Drug War was the whole Freeway Ricky Ross investigation.
That's right.
And getting inside of that and putting together all the pieces to tie together the CIA selling crack cocaine in Los Angeles ghettos and ghettos all around the country to basically finance the war in Nicaragua.
I'm from LA too. I was born there, and I don't know anybody in the hood that has a plane to go fly to Colombia or wherever to pick up drugs. Bring them back to the neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Ricky didn't even know he was working for the CIA until after he was in prison.
Wow.
He found, basically Gary Webb explained it to him after he was already in prison.
Yeah.
He just basically all he knew was this is a hell of an easy way to make a lot of money. That's all he knew, and he had the perfect supplier and the perfect buyers, and he just seemed to never get caught, and it just went on, and the millions rolled in, and so yeah,
the game.
It was a little too good to be true.
Okay, well, how did you get started in comedy?
Well, I'm not a comedian. I produced a lot of comedy.
I see.
I grew up, my best friend in high school that was a guy named Bill Hicks.
Right, I wanted to get to that because Bill Hicks is definitely one of my all-time favorite comedians. I mean, tell us about how you met Bill.
Let's see. He was in 9th grade and I was in 10th grade, and he was just this bizarre, lanky kid, him and his friend Dwight. And he would do all this crazy, funny shit. And one day we just got together and I said, "Why don't we start a rock band?" And because my older brother, we had instruments in my house. We always had drums and guitars and amplifiers, and my brother was actually in a mental hospital at the time. And so I said they all started coming over to my house, so we started a band called Stress. And at the time, none of us even knew how to play instruments. And then Bill suddenly decided to become really serious about being a guitar player, and he really put his mind to it. And went out, and his parents bought him this amazing Stratocaster. And
did he have a Gibson?
No,
he had a Gibson too, right?
Yeah. But at his first real guitar was a white Stratocaster that had belonged to Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh man!
And a Music Man amplifier, and it had that. That real kind of Jimi Hendrix big muff sound, that real...
So that's the kind of sound you guys were going for, kind of like a psychedelic kind of sound?
Yeah, our very first songs to cover, we covered Hey Joe and Of course, who doesn't play Foxy Lady and all. So we did
Right.
a lot of that, and we were also really into a young guitar player named Eric Johnson at the time. And Eric Johnson was this local guitar wizard that played at the local clubs constantly, and we'd go see him every night. This guy was, if you don't know who Eric Johnson was, he's still out there. I mean, he's won Grammys and he's huge.
Wow.
But he was this local virtuoso, and so he became, all the guys I hung out with were all these guitar players I hung out with at the time. Bill and then this other guy, Brett Ballard, from my high school. They all worshiped this guy, Eric Johnson, and idolized him. And so Bill and everybody were trying to be just like Eric Johnson for a long time. But at the same time, Bill was hilarious, and he was also, it wasn't just the class clown. I mean, plenty of people have friends that are funny, or you can make people in class, but he was able to actually get up and perform jokes on a different level. And so at a very early age, as the story goes, I was able to get a driver's license when I was 14 because my family owned a ranch, and I was able to use that to get what's called a hardship license. It was some bullshit. I was able to pull at the DMV, telling them like I had to take the cows to market or some bullshit. I don't even remember what it was, and it was okay. So I had a legal driver's license at age 14, never even taking driver's ed or anything.
Oh, that's cool.
And so suddenly I'm the guy
You're the cool guy
to the comedy store. And so completely underage kids going to the nightclub downtown, and Bill was, he was a novelty at first. Just the fact that how young he was getting up there doing comedy was a novelty, but then he started killing and really it almost didn't matter that he was a kid. And so very quickly Bill caught on up there at the comedy workshop in Houston.
Wow. Amazing. If Bill were alive today, how do you think Bill would view today's PC world? I mean, back in the day, they had American Gladiators and Baywatch. Now they have iPhones. I mean, he would have a field day, right?
Yeah, I don't like to put words into dead people's mouths, but I think things have gotten even crazier than Bill could have imagined. He did die right before the internet. It makes me sad that Bill never got to see the internet. That always bums me out because it was such a game changer.
Definitely. It was right at the beginning of the internet. Yeah.
Things have just pretty much gone down the same trail as he imagined. And so really in a lot of ways, everything is probably just how he imagined it would end up being, but different in a different way, maybe.
So he's sitting on his little cloud up there in heaven, laughing it all up with George Carlin, probably.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think Bill though is off already. I don't. Sometimes when I dream about him or he visits me in dreams, he's off on new missions. He's not looking back.
Yeah, he was definitely that kind of guy. Tell us about doing mushrooms with Bill. I mean, you guys were driving, 14 years old, you said you were, and you guys were on shrooms driving. That sounds, I mean, did that happen for one?
No. We were actually pretty careful with the tripping. We learned early on to be careful with it. We maybe did a couple of stupid things in the beginning.
Yeah, we all did.
We ended up learning that to have a really good psychedelic experience, we would come out to the family ranch where we knew we were safe. And so you could just have a complete freak out and not even the police could touch you. So
right.
So that we learned that early on. We would have, because I remember one time taking acid with Bill at the very beginning, and we went to McDonald's, and it was a nightmare. In fact, I think he derived a joke from that experience where he would talk about, you always got this friend who wants to take acid and go to putt golf, and Bill would say like, I'm hanging on the edge of Venus or Pluto over here, and you want me to shoot a ball through a clown's mouth.
That's hilarious.
That actually came from taking acid and going to McDonald's where, the LSD's kicking in and we're sitting there looking at plastic clowns and shit.
Oh my God.
We got to get the hell out of here. We got to go find some trees and some grass.
Right. I remember the first time I did shrooms, our friend, he was kind of a midget and he had a hairpiece. So he turns into like a little pot-bellied pig in front of my eyes, and we're throwing little berries at him, just laughing for like an hour.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You kind of sound like Bill a little bit, It's just, I feel like I'm talking to Bill's brother or something. But, some people didn't get Bill. All right, what do they know anyway, right? They're probably a bunch of fucking zombies.
Well, but you know what? That's okay. You know, what's bugged me actually more is when Bill was alive, all these people didn't get him, and then you really see it when you're close to a situation where all these people you knew over the years that thought Bill was, they never thought he was an idiot, but they thought he was, an arrogant asshole,
Well, that's because he knew all the facts, right?
But what I'm getting at is that the second he dies, suddenly he becomes a saint, and all these people who did not support him while he was alive jump behind it. But I guess that just happens to everybody. It's just one of the things. So, look, when you put out controversial material, that's the way it is. The Hicks fan base is a weird little niche. It's a very weird little niche. It's kind of it's like the old Woody Allen joke about I don't want to belong to a group that would have me as a member. Kind of.
Right. But his jokes have real staying power. I mean, maggots crawling out of Barbara Bush's wrinkled, flaccid labia. The minute I heard that, I still want to squirt milk out of my nose. Yeah. Those maggots are probably in power today.
That's funny. Yeah. No, it's all held up pretty good. Yeah, I don't think he could have pictured how crazy things would get. I mean, maybe if Bill were alive, he'd be kind of a Jon Stewart kind of guy, or maybe he'd be. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Right.
Maybe he would have disappeared and just become a writer or something, or maybe he'd be a hermit. I don't know.
Be an artist. He'd be somewhere painting. He'd be in the Grand Canyon painting a big bowl of fruit or something. Right?
Yeah. I think he maybe would have I think he maybe would have disappeared from society again. I'm not sure.
I don't blame him. I really don't. I mean, in your book, you write about Bill appearing to you in the back seat after you went to his funeral. I mean, did his ghost really appear to you?
Looking back 20 years, it's weird when people always ask me these type of questions. I mean, when it happened to me, it seemed as real as this moment of me talking to you on the phone. That's all I can say.
Right. Okay, well, you're also friends with one of my favorite radio show hosts. I mean, he's one of the reasons why I do what I do, Kevin, Alex Jones.
I see where this is going.
How good of a comic is Alex? He's pretty funny.
You get mad at me
because
do
stand up,
Alex is as funny as Bill, but you look. I know Alex isn't funny, but if you got drunk, with him,
he is. I laughed so hard.
If you spent the night bar hopping with Alex, you would. I mean, he's a funny guy to be around, or he used to be anyways. I haven't hung out with him in a long time.
What are you talking about? What about the gay frogs? That's still fucking funny.
Yeah. No, well, he's got a sense of humor. He definitely, and he's a very complex character, and sure, I've lost a lot of friends with my association with Alex, but such is life, right?
Yeah, especially in this age of censorship. You know what's crazy? Some people actually think Alex is Bill. Boy, I tell you, there are some wild videos out there on the internet. But I mean, Bill has literally become a conspiracy unto himself. He's become like Elvis or Bigfoot or something, right?
Oh yeah, well, no, I'm aware of that conspiracy because I'm part of it. And a lot of people are saying I'm the Svengali or something, the common thread of it, and then I've had other people accusing me of keeping. I've been accused of starting the conspiracy. I've been accused of keeping it alive because there are several times I go on Alex's show and we would joke about it.
Right.
And so certain people out there would get all like, Kevin's the one keeping this thing alive, where we were just laughing at the people making all these videos.
They're hilarious, aren't they? I mean, they focus on the chin and the teeth and the this and the that.
Look, at the end of the day, if you're going to put out controversial material like Bill did or like Alex did, you're going to get completely insane people doing things like that. It just goes with the territory.
That's right.
You just got to enjoy the ride.
Like he said, right. What was it like working with Bill during the whole Waco ATF thing? Right, you were doing like camera work for him. I mean, you had like a mullet going on, and
Everybody always remembers the mullet. Boy, how long do I have to wait till that thing comes back in so I'm cool again?
Well, you would never know if you turn on a Pluto TV. They're still showing dudes with mullets all day. You'd think it's 1993 or something.
Damn! Look, I played in a rock band all the time. All I know is that haircut used to get me laid. I'm sorry, but
there you go. Hey, if it worked, it worked. You can't hate on it.
Back in the day. Well, Bill and I, I was coming out of being in a rock band. I was buying cameras, and I was wanting to be a filmmaker, and Bill was wanting to do this television show, and so we were developing different ideas to do a television show. At the same time, we were both news junkies. And we were both the kind of guys that would just watch CNN around the clock. Which really started with the war in Iraq, is when just the fascination with just watching nonstop news. And when the Waco thing broke on TV, it had everything we could dream of in a story. Plus, it was only like a 2-hour drive from our house. Wow. So, we hopped in the car with a bunch of cameras and headed up to Waco.
Right. You ever heard of this guy named Jeff Rentz on the radio?
No.
There's some crazy dude out there on the internet that said that Jeff Rentz is David Koresh.
Oh, wow.
He's still. You see that these crazy people, they pop up with their conspiracies. Yeah.
Did he you gotta do about it. Does he have the 7 seals? That's all I care about.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I know you're not a comic, but you definitely were around. I mean, the most legendary of comics, and you know what their world is all about, and maybe you did a little. Have you ever done a little bit of comedy?
No, just in my own work. I've never done stand up. I've done lectures where I try to be funny at the lectures, but no, I've never done stand up at a nightclub. No.
Right. Okay. Well, what do you think would be some tips that, just from watching like Bill and other top guys? I mean, what would be some tips for somebody that's starting out in comedy? What should they be aware of and try to do?
Well, you got to find your own voice.
Okay.
You got to make yourself laugh. Or you have to be able to. I've learned in this business, whether you're making documentaries or music, that if you don't try to play to what you think other people's likes are. Try to do stuff that makes you happy. I try to make films that entertain me. Like, I try to make a documentary that I would want to watch, even if I'm the only person on the face of the earth that would want to watch it. So that, and just don't get too caught up in dumb minutia and personal bullshit, and just try to get as much stage time as possible. And don't get caught up in cliques or people this, that, or worrying about what's popular, or like, oh, am I going to be like a pro-Trump guy or the anti-Trump guy, or I'm going to make the whole thing, or I'm going to be political, or I'm not going to be political, or just don't worry about it. Just get out there and get the stage time, and just put in the time and find your own voice. And look, it's a hard road. And the internet has made everything even harder now, because you don't have 1 million hits on YouTube, people won't even take you seriously anymore.
That's right.
So
it's so contrived and controlled.
It's not like it used to be, where it's like, oh, comedy, there's like these 20 guys at this one club, let's go to where comedy happens. Right. Now it's basically what happened to rock and roll. I mean, it got blown out to where everybody and their brother had a rock band, and the next thing you know, saying you're in a rock band meant nothing, and that's kind of what happened to comedy. Everybody became a comedian, so it's a hard road. But if you believe in yourself, you got to believe in yourself and just keep going. And I don't know what else to say. Right?
No, that's great. That's really good advice.
I will say one thing I do see a lot. This will be my final note: is that when you get young guys, some girls too, that they're trying to be in the vein of being the next Kennison or the next Hicks or the next, thing like that. They will try to be controversial to the point where it's not even humor anymore, and they're just trying to be controversial or just trying to say things to.
They miss the punchline. They miss the whole punchline, right? Yeah. They got to study the game.
Yeah, so like you can drop all the truth on me in the world, but if it ain't funny, it ain't comedy. Like if you want to be a philosopher or give me a lecture about life or this and that, I'll come meet you somewhere else. But don't fucking lecture me at the comedy club.
Yeah, get off the stage and grab a bongo, right?
Yeah, the difference is that Bill Hicks may have been lecturing you at times, but it was fucking funny, and that's why it worked.
Oh my God, he literally made me piss my pants a lot of times. The internet's making comedy easier, I think. I mean, it just looks like it's easier with all the memes. And people could look at a meme and then just play off a meme. I mean, I kind of do it on my radio show sometimes too. That's why I know. I mean, is the internet making comedy easier, or is it making it like it's just irrelevant because it's just like it's just so easy to tell a joke? Like for instance, all these Trump jokes, right? Like you said, are you going to be a Trump joke guy? I mean, there's so much. The anti-Trump comedy is like not even funny. I don't even classify it as comedy. They're terrible. But some of the pro-Trump comedy, I mean, it's kind of easy with the memes. I see it. It's like Elizabeth Warren. She's walking into a restaurant, right? And Trump's the waiter. He's like, oh, well, I can't take your reservation. You know, you don't have a reservation because he's an Indian, right? I mean, so many easy kind of jokes they throw out on the internet now.
Yeah, but that's different than the next Kevin Hart or the next,
right?
The next, Dave Chappelle. And, when I watch the latest Dave Chappelle one on Netflix, I don't know whether you like him or I like him a lot.
He was great. I loved him. Half-Baked. Amazing stuff.
But, I mean, the very newest things, have you seen the very newest ones on Netflix?
I haven't seen his new stand. I know it's very, pissed off the left. Supposedly it's controversial. I mean, he made fun of a tranny or something. That's the thing. You can't even say certain things now. Like if Bill, were around, he'd say, that in today's day and age, you can't tell a man from a woman or a woman from a man. What the hell's going on? I mean, they'd crucify him.
Yeah, so I think, Dave Chappelle is kind of, I feel, graduated to being a grandmaster, even above, Yeah. So, there's a million people out there being funny, but, if you want to make a living as a comedian and have that be your career, and be remembered as a comedian, that's a whole other thing besides just cracking people up on the internet.
Right.
So, we'll see. I think hopefully there's always going to be a market still for live shows and not just have everything be on your cell phone. God help us.
Oh my goodness. But comics also battle a lot of depression, being like how you just said, there's so much competition now. Let's say I'm a comic, I'm playing a small club downtown, and for lack of a better name, I'll just throw out Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's there. I don't know, he's there. He's sitting in a fake mustache. He's wearing a hat. And he's there stealing my jokes. I mean, what could I do, as a comic today to protect myself, my intellectual property? I mean, the theft happens even in comedy.
It's there's nothing you can do other than try to become more famous than the person stealing your shit. Obviously, I worked with Joe back a long, long time ago. Actually,
I love Joe. He's great.
I'm the one who I introduced Joe and Alex Jones together, who's still
wow.
Back then, Alex referred to him as just one of my degenerate friends, and I was like, "Oh, you'll like this guy," it was funny introducing those two. I knew they would hit it off and do stuff, but I guess you could look at what Joe did with that whole Carlos Mencia thing and called him out.
Right.
There's different ways, but I don't know. I guess if you're really the funny one that's really doing the stuff, you're going to have to just persevere until it becomes known that that's you and your voice. And don't get too caught up. Like, I've been ripped off. I've been making a living in show business for over 30 years. And if I became embittered over every time I was ripped off and saw someone profiting from my ideas or my work, then I would have never moved on. I've seen other people in this business who got so hung up on being mistreated or screwed, and it destroyed them. And so if someone steals your stuff, you got to go, well, I must be pretty fucking good, and just keep going.
You just persevere. Kevin, what are some of your plans for the future? What are some new movies, new documentaries you're working on?
Well, I just released this crazy, bizarre film called Shadows of Sophia. Hopefully it'll be my first and last ever foreign film. It's a crazy situation because in the movie, I'm looking for how Russia, the corruption from Russia affects another country, because there's all this talk about Russian corruption in America. Let's go look at some real Russian corruption. So we go to this country, Bulgaria, where it's just completely run by the mafia.
Yeah.
And, it was a 4-year journey into hell.
That sounds dangerous, man.
Yeah, no, we had armed bodyguards around us the whole time we were there. And so what's crazy, though, about this story is that, so in the movie, the villain is this gangster named Delane Pevsky, who's also, he's a member of parliament. He's part of the government. As the story goes, that when communism fell in 1989, the KGB left the mafia behind, and today that mafia is the government.
Makes sense.
Even though it's a NATO country. And so this guy and his mafia organization, they own all of the country's media. Well, since the movie came out, his media has been putting out all these crazy stories about the movie and me. And it's just been the weirdest experience of my life to live through, having to going to some big newspaper in some Eastern European country that's all in this other language, and and seeing my picture on there, and then having to cut and paste it into Google Translator, and what the fuck is going on?
And they're talking all this shit about you.
Yeah, what are they talking about?
Oh, man.
And it's been very, very surrealistic chapter of my life. So that's what I'm finishing up now. And if you get Amazon Prime, it just started, I think, 2 days ago, where if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can watch it for free now on Amazon Prime. Just anybody out there.
Right.
Shadows of Sophia. And let's see, I'm working on another drug thing, another drug series with Sean Stone, son of Oliver. And that's another project. I'm working on a project about a big cult. I can't go into details because this is one thing when you do investigative work, you keep it on the down low.
That's right.
Until the movie's coming out. I've also been a part of working on a company to become a publicly traded cannabis company, although it's already diversifying, so I'm definitely getting into the cannabis business. And most near and dear to me is that on the ranch where Bill used to trip all the time here in Fredericksburg, Texas, a huge energy company called Kinder Morgan is planning on putting a 42-inch high-pressure gas line, which would be the second biggest pipeline in America, almost as big as the Alaskan pipeline, coming practically, a couple thousand feet away from the site where Bill had all his UFO experiences.
Oh, wow.
And I'm heavily involved in that. I mean, we've got multiple lawsuits and hearings. I'm a commissioner. We're shooting a documentary. Just yesterday, the oil company, basically what happens is the oil company comes in and they use this thing called eminent domain. Eminent domain allows a private corporation to just take your land. They can just, you think you own your land in America because you pay your property taxes or you don't have a lien anymore? That's not true.
Yeah.
A company they can just take your land away using this thing called eminent domain.
Oh, yeah. It's like what happened at Bundy Ranch. I mean, the Federal Reserve pretty much they own they trade the dirt underneath your house is traded on the stock market. I mean, the Chinese pretty much own it. You don't own anything.
It's crazy, but so if you refuse to allow them on there, if you just refuse to play ball, they can actually get a restraining order.
Wow. To
have you removed from your own land, and then they do what's called condemning. They can condemn your land.
Oh,
and
my God.
They're forcing hundreds of my neighbors into what's called these condemnation hearings, right? And so the beauty of this, though, is that this is just yesterday's hearing. There's hundreds of these hearings going on. This is just what happened yesterday. They were offering him about $110,000 to basically destroy his ranch. We got him $11 million.
Wow.
And you should have seen the look on the lawyers' faces. It was beautiful. But the point is, we don't want the money and we don't want the pipeline. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the price tag so fucking high they just take their fucking bullshit and leave us alone.
Yeah, that's right. They pack up and leave. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're not only just fighting on the condemnation thing, but we have environmental lawsuits going against them because they're wanting to cut right across the Texas Hill Country. I mean, this is pristine. You know, we're sitting over water aquifers and
it's beautiful.
And rivers
it's beautiful.
And all the drinking water. There's no reason for them to be running a pipeline through this land. There's no reason.
No. Yeah, what kind of Nazi fascist bullshit is this, right, Kevin?
It's just about money. I don't know if it's Nazi fascism, but what I do know is it's about some fucking billionaire named Rich Kinder sitting in his office in Houston drawing a line on a map going, here's the best place to put it. And he doesn't give a fuck like who dies in the process.
What an asshole. Well, Kevin, that sounds like quite an ordeal, and the spirit of Bill Hicks' activism definitely lives in you. I hear it, man. And I want to thank you so much for being on my podcast, on my radio show. It was a pleasure having you on. And I hope we get to talk again sometime soon.
Yeah, well, when you get it posted, send me a link and I'll link it up on my social media.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for being on my program.
Sure. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. That was documentary filmmaker and the best friend of legendary comic Bill Hicks, Kevin Booth. I hope you enjoyed this Saturday edition of the Bruce Montalvo Show. We'll be back. Same Bruce station, same Bruce dial. Just be sure to follow us over on Facebook at Bruce Montalvo Show, at Bruce Montalvo Show, Twitter at Bruce Montalvo. And check us out. Give us a like. We'll be back. Sayonara.
Montalvo Broadcasting Network.